What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday, depending on when you're watching this. I'm super excited to be here with you. I literally just wrapped up. Oh, here's what I'm going to do. Let me share this into my group real fast. I just wrapped up an interview with a timeshare sales legend. Actually, it's such an incredible thing that he just did. Jonathan Garcia sold $10 million in vacation ownership sales in 2018. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm just sharing this into a group real quickly. And we're going to keep like anonymity and all that stuff with companies since he's still gainfully employed. And we just want to be respectful of all that and not have everybody like jumping on Jonathan, like, hey, come do this for us, because he's such an amazing rock star that he is. But he's absolutely incredible. And he doesn't mind sharing with me where he's at. But anyways, guys, what's going on? So I just got to tell you that this interview, first of all, I've been dreaming about this interview for 2 months. And Jonathan's actually a great friend of mine. And I met him, a good friend of mine, I met him back in 2012 at Wyndham's President's Club in Cabo. And we just stayed friends since. And so when I realized, I was like, okay, I had this thought and this epiphany that what's going on, Ermilo? Hey, Lack, how you guys doing? That I want to interview timeshare's top talent, like legends who I respect. Let me add that caveat. Who I respect, and that takes it to, I mean, obviously I don't know everybody in the industry, but it definitely took it down to one person in particular who I was like, oh my God, I got to get a hold of Jonathan, and texted him. I literally was like, Jay, here's what I want you to do. And he was like, Joni, whatever I can do to serve you and your people. Yes, I'm there. And so we just got off this interview a few minutes ago, and it was absolutely powerful. He did about an hour and 15-minute interview for people in the 10 Days to Top Bonus Challenge who signed up for that. And it was really incredible. What was so powerful about it was that it was really clear that it doesn't come down to tactics and strategy and all that crap that people think, like your presentation and pitch. It is like, there was a couple points I want to emphasize, which is process. And process, Jonathan said, process is everything. Like, you cannot skip a step, right? You can't skip a step. You have to, by the way, for those of you who missed out on this challenge and you want to catch the next challenge, because you never know who we're going to bring on. And I actually have something up my sleeve for the next April 10 Days to Top Bonus Challenge. Go ahead and check that out. The link will be here somewhere, toplevelbonus.com. You can enroll now for April 20th. 21st challenge, somewhere around there. But anyway, this is the kind of things that we do in there. So it was amazing, because one of the things he said is that you can't skimp on process. Process is super important. So here's what I mean by that. How often do we prejudge who's sitting in front of us based on what's on the paper, based on how they look, based on different human characteristics, right? Or simply what we've heard. And what I loved about Jonathan was he said, look, everything is in the process. And he said, so often it's easy to prejudge. He's like, look, you just, human nature, you prejudge. But he says, I don't let myself skip a step in the process. And he says, people who I never thought would, purchase did, because we didn't skip on the process. And then those who you thought you wouldn't, even though you did the process, because they quote unquote perfect tours, they don't end up purchasing. So that was a really important thing, was process, and how much he emphasized process in his interview with me. The other thing that I really loved is that Jonathan made a decision. He made a decision, and that decision happened years ago. He's an 11-year vet of the game, has been an in-house rep, frontline rep, has in-house rep for 5 years, frontline rep for 3 years total, in-house manager for 1.5 years, and a frontline manager for, I believe, 2 years. And so he's been all through the different roles of the industry other than like executive VP, that kind of thing, and director level. But what I love about him was his level of conviction that far exceeds people who do not get to that level of success. I was like, Jay, what differentiates you from somebody else? Because clearly you're not average. You sold $10 million in a year. You're not average, right? And this was after just getting to a brand new company, guys, first year at this new company, $10 million, right? And what I love about him is he says, I just decided that I was going to be successful. And when you decide and you commit, like the word commitment just kept coming up. And how often do we see people or hear people who say, yeah, they want this, they want to be the best, they want to be the top 1%, but they're not willing to do the work to get there, right? They're not willing to do the work to get there. And what was so clear in this interview was that he committed over and beyond everybody else to that. Everybody else left for the day. Guess who's there waiting for a tour at 5 p.m. sometimes, right? 5:30, waiting for that tour to come in because that level of commitment was there. And so that was really powerful. The other thing that I really heard out of this interview was the constant reprogramming that he's done over the years. I know it's late, guys, by the way, but some of you will catch this on the replay. So write #replay if you're watching this on the replay. And for those of you who are here now, hey, what's going on? And Milo, you're always amazing and around. What I heard was this constant reinforcing of an identity. And I talk a lot about this in my coaching. It's like, you can only be who you are. If your identity says you are broke and poor and not capable of selling, you will not shift into anything else. You won't be able to sell a $100,000 deal. You won't be able to be top rep because your identity says you're that of somebody who can't sell, right? So you have to really constantly work on, how do I shift myself out of that identity that I currently have, which may be not deserving of making a certain level of income, not deserving of being top rep, number one. Maybe it's not deserving of consistently staying at the top because how will I be judged? And if you're going to be at the top, you're going to be judged, right? And that was one of the things that he said. It's like, look, you got to welcome it all. You've got to, because the haters, like, he didn't really talk about this. I tried to pull out this. I'm like, well, there's got to be some feedback and criticism when you're making that kind of impact in the game. So how do you deal with that? And I just loved his response. And he's like, it's just whatever, it comes with it. It is what it is, right? And you think to yourself, well, God, with all that energy, you could actually be asking me how I can help you instead of, and so that brings up a great point. If we are going to look at somebody who's achieved this certain level of success, wouldn't we want to model it? Shouldn't we want to model it and figure out what specifically are they doing to get to that success? Model their behavior, model their mannerisms, model their beliefs, and find out what those beliefs are and the stories are that they're telling themselves that have made them, given them the identity of that 1%er. And for him, that 0.0001%er out there in the industry. And so there were so many really great things that I love about it. And also one of them was his process for getting ready for work and how he really wraps his head around it. And so much of it is what happens as he's preparing mentally, getting dressed physically in the mirror, ready, putting on that suit and visualizing himself in contracts and getting that deal. And the way he described it was so powerful. Wish you were there. Somebody's angry. I don't think you're really angry. But yeah, it's easy to hit the wrong buttons. All good, guys. So, but it's like envisioning yourself being successful is the key to success, right? Roger Bannister never broke the record for the 4-minute mile without seeing it in his mind first before he achieved it. You've got to see it to achieve it first. And that's how he did it. And so anyways, there was just such gold in this. And I was just so grateful and humbled that he would spend over an hour with us in our community of rock stars who are hungry to get to the next level, ready to just hit top level. And what's up, Swano from Bali? How are you doing? So awesome to have you here. This is a good friend of mine, never been on my Facebook Lives, but it helps that I'm actually doing them more often. So we're talking about, just having interviewed an industry rock star who sold $10 million in timeshare sales in 2018 in a single year, and the mindset and the total conviction that goes with that. And that's what differentiates the top 1%ers from the 99%. It's your identity, your belief, and your stories that you tell yourself about, I was like, what do you tell yourself when you're out of a slump? You've got to be in a slump sometimes, Jonathan. And I was probably thinking, yeah, maybe. And I was like, okay, it's all relative. So maybe for a day or two, you're not selling a deal, right? So what do you tell yourself to get back into flow? And he says, really, there's not negativity. It's constant positivity. And I loved that, because think about it. That takes years and years of programming to get yourself to the place where you're not beating yourself up, right? How often do we beat ourselves up? And so he said, it's constant positivity. And I have to have that support system, which is his wife, and remind himself of his why, which is his children, why he is, so successful, and why he shows up and goes to work to change other people's lives every day. Swana says, keep going. Love to hear your message. I love it. What's up, Jonathan? Oh my God, you guys, he's here. He's here. I'm talking about how awesome you are, and the conviction that you had, and how you just blew everybody's mind, because it comes down to the belief factor. You guys, he's here with us live. That's pretty freaking awesome. And I just loved it. He totally made me realize I was hungry. I was like, I want to hear more about the mindset of a man who has such no barriers in terms of what he can achieve. And that is what is such a beautiful thing when you look at anything in life. How often do we put our own ceiling there, our own ceiling that says, that's all I can do? Why? Because nobody else has done it yet. If you're waiting for somebody else to do it, you're waiting for you're missing an opportunity, right? So why don't you create your own opportunity by seeing it in your mind first, making that decision, that commitment, that conviction that you can do it. What's up, Jay? Awesome. So blessed to be a part of it. We were so happy to have you, Rockstar. You truly inspire me. Blessed to be your friend. Blessed to have you in my life and to be in front of our community. Guys, if you want to you missed this one, this opportunity is gone. But the next challenge, toplevelbonus.com. And I don't know if anyone ever would be able to compete with that. These guys are so blown away. But what else they really loved about you, Jonathan, and I'm talking to you guys as well, is that he's just so humble. And it was, I said, Jonathan, what makes you different from everybody else? What makes you different? I mean, what is different about you than the 99 or 99.0000%, whatever that is? And he says, you know what? I'm not different. I have 2 arms, 2 legs. I'm just like everybody else. If I can do it, they can do it. You can do it. And that was the power of, he said, the difference is that I might be a little more positive. I might have my mindset, but who can't get there? And it starts with a decision. And that's what I was hearing out of our conversation. So correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but it really starts with really treating this as a profession, right? And so many people say, it's not their profession. They haven't decided until they see the evidence on the wall that they're good at it. It's like until the deals are there, until it says I've sold $1 million, $2 million, then I'll decide if it's my profession. He said, no, I'm going to decide first before the writing's on the wall. And the results started to follow, right? And so I thought that was absolutely beautiful. Anyways, rock stars, you guys, it was just such an amazing experience to have him on board. The first interview, I've never interviewed anybody in this industry before, and I knew exactly who I wanted to go to because I wanted somebody whose game I respect, somebody who has integrity, because there are people out there who are selling huge volume, massive volume with total integrity. And it was so obvious, so clear today in our interview that this man right here who's commenting right now live is that guy. So yeah, I love it. Cool. Correct? Okay, good. As long as I'm doing you justice. It was just awesome to be a part of it, but it was super powerful. So you guys, for those of you who missed it, you missed out, but you can go and catch the next challenge because it is fire. People were like, wait, what? You're giving us this for $97? We get to talk to a man who wrote $10 million in a single year, and he's not talking to any other interview. Like, no, Jonathan, I know I'm your first interview and hopefully your last. But anyways, it was such a beautiful thing, guys, to get in the mind of somebody who's so successful like that. And, you know, inspiring on so many levels. I really, truly loved it. So thank you. And I'm trying to, is there anything else that I wanted to share with you guys? Oh, I love this aspect, this thing that he said. And he says, you know what? I didn't go out there competing with other people. He says, if you go into a new company trying to be number one, if you go there trying to be the top of the board, be number one, you're going to like set yourself up to fail. And these are my words now, not his. But he says, you got to compete with yourself. How can I get better today? How can I do better on this tour than the last? How can I be better than my best self, right? And to give yourself give 100% of yourself every single day. And what I loved was he said, I know that if I go home that night and I didn't give 100% to my tours, that I not only robbed myself of an incredible opportunity, but I robbed them of it, of changing their life, and my children and my wife. And man, that was powerful. So I love your mindset, and you really help people rise to the top in terms of what's possible and how they can hold themselves to a higher standard, because you get what you tolerate, as Tony Robbins says. You get what you tolerate. And if you tolerate mediocrity, you will get mediocre results, right? And so if we stop tolerating mediocrity within ourselves and we hold ourselves to a higher standard, how? We just decide, like Jonathan said, we just decide, then we will absolutely rise to that new level, that new identity that we've created for ourselves. Does that make sense? You guys, so much fun. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining me here again. And for all of you guys from Brian in Bali, Leslie Neal, you guys are rock stars. Armilo, Lack, all of you who are here live late, I appreciate you. All right, guys, get out there, be unstoppable. Do you know where I got that? The guy who's on here also live with me right now, Brian Swan and his family, the Unstoppable family, who've been traveling the world for 10 years straight. And yeah, they're the Unstoppable family. So get out there. How awesome is this? And be unstoppable. For those of you who want to check out the next bonus and start piling it on like everybody else is in the challenge right now, you missed out. I'm sorry. You got to wait for top bonus. Go to toplevelbonus.com and we'll see you next month in April's challenge. Bye, everyone. Peace. Bye, Jonathan. Bye, Swano. You guys rock.